Okay, so this is the art collection library. And I got these three books: Arte, Abstracto, Diseños de Interior, Deco, Designs. And I got them from this area right here. So also right here is the Book of Flowers. Some more design books and craft books and stuff like that. But these were the three books I used the first time I came to this library. So I wanted to look in them again because there were some things that stuck out to me. And I just want to take the rest of the time that this library is open to trace some drawings and stuff like that on them. So from this book, I remember this the one I'm gonna start with. The Arte Abstractico. And this is also my first time. Well, not my first time because I looked the other day. But these three books are the first books that I used to start like tracing and learning just like what people consider abstract or whatever. So like I learned that there's like lots of patterns. And I'm just kind of like flip through the pages. And it also shows you kind of like it gives you a description of it. So like, la mina 8, dibujo repetitivo con agresivo contraste de blanco y negro y efecto de engranaje mecánico. So I think it means like drawing repetitive with aggressive contrast, black and white, mechanic, I don't know. But I'm just kind of learning as I go. But this is one in particular that I remember from the last time. And it stuck out to me because it reminds me of like clouds. Like clouds and like when lightning strikes. And like a weather kind of change. And I always wonder too, like, and I think that this is what this description is about. But I always think about, like, did they draw it one time and then copy it? Or did they draw it one time and then they were able to draw the same thing again and again? And if they, it kind of reminds me of how, like, you can cut out, like, different construction paper and you can glue it and put it all together. And it kind of creates an image. I wonder if they did that. And if they did it one time, took a picture of it, and then did it several times. Like, I just kind of wonder about the process of how, like, a book is created. But, yeah, then it gives you, like, a bigger image of this one, like, to kind of, like, detail it more. So, as I said, this is one that sticks out to me because it kind of looks like lightning strikes and, like, weather and stuff like that. And, like, you see how, like, it's like, I'll be thinking, like, I really like these kind of details and stuff, but kind of, it shows that, like, a person used their hand to create this and, like, put it together, And I wonder, like, did they use, like, construction paper to, like, or how much of it was drawing and how much of it was construction paper, or how much of it was a mixture of both, But, yeah, it continues on. Oh, this is another one that I remember. It reminds me of like the blocks that kids use when they're like stacking different things when they're like in elementary school or whatever. And this book was obviously created by an adult, so it kind of just shows like through art and creating, especially abstract art, I feel like it highlights like the innocence of like when you are a child and when you are young, right? Like just tapping more back into that. Like I feel like that's where your creative space kind of comes from. So I really like this because it reminds me of like the blocks that you use when you're young, and you could separate it and you could put it all together kind of like Legos, but like before Legos, basically. And also like the sun as well. It looks like the sun. But of course, we know that the colors represent things on its own. Like the sun, well, not the sun, but yellow represents vitality and also happiness, and purple represents passion and royalty and stuff like that. So, like, I wonder if people consciously think about what colors they want to use because of what the color represents, or if they just like how the colors are put together. I'm more of the latter. Like, I like how the colors are kind of put together. And one thing I like about this book too is that they take specific ones and they enlarge them. And so part of me is thinking now, like, did it start off big like this and did they make it small, or vice versa, you know? Like, I just kind of wonder about that. And when things are like designed like this, it kind of reminds me of a game. Like, if I was to press an on button and this picture was to move, I kind of think about where and what direction these images will kind of move to, you know? But yeah, okay, so this one right here reminds me of like waves, like in the ocean, right? And I also think about like if I was to press an on button, like would it continue? Would it go like this? Or, you know, just kind of like which direction it would go. So like when you study in art books, it's not just, oh, you looking at it and that's it. It's kind of like if you was to go through a museum, the kind of thoughts that would come up in your mind as you're looking at certain images, you know. But this one reminds me of like Chinese or Japanese like art, like a dragon kind of vibes, and also like it reminds me of like Karate Kid, basically. Like if the main character in Karate Kid had a challenge where he maybe had to do something with his ball, like kick it off or something, or try not to, or jump over it or something like that. But I like how, one thing I love about abstract art is that, to me, it always looks like it's moving, even when it's still and even when it's not, you know. But yeah, that's one thing I really, really like. This also reminds me of like a Mario game or something. Like, I feel like there's a task to be completed, or there's some type of traveling when it comes to abstract painting. Like, I have a different mindset when I'm looking at art that's just like, oh, like that's a picture of a person or something like that. Like, it's just a different vibe. And I wonder specifically why they chose certain ones to enlarge. But for this one, it says La Mina 14, right? And when 4 and 1 come together, it creates 5. And 5 is about expression, you know, and creativity. Especially for me personally, I have Capricorn in the 5th house, you know. So when it comes to like the practicality with expression, I feel like when I put those together, it kind of just shows like a different side to me that when I tap into that, I'm able to see things I might not have necessarily seen. Like, just doing art just to do it is fun, but when you add the practicality measures to it, like what I'm doing right now, for instance, like I prefer to look at my own art, but when I go to places like this, I'm able to expand and just see different ways of whatever state of being a person was in to come up with this conclusion to create this art in the first place. But also like the areas in the middle, like this kind of reminds me of like a building, and it's kind of like separating, and like as I said before, like the waves. And because this is all a part of one picture, like I feel like it kind of brings together like the waves and the building, like the building of waves or the building of emotions, like this, like it looks like waves, but it also could represent emotions, and there's brown in it too, which could represent practicality and being grounded, right? So this could represent being grounded in your emotions, or even walking on water, you know, because when you walk on water, it means that you're able to withstand your emotions regardless of the tides, regardless of the waves that's going on, you know. So yeah, I feel like that's what this is about. But yeah, but the main thing I noticed though is just like there's like a continuation of patterns, like a patterns. Like this looks more like a person. Like if this was a sculpture, like if you could take this out and create a sculpture, and it was sitting upright. That's what I kind of see this as, like a person in a dress, kind of like dancing with their feet towards each other, you know. But yeah, this is like a lot of reasons of why I like abstract art to begin with, because I feel like it's always telling a story. And I do feel like any image is telling a story, but I feel like it's kind of like when you do puzzles, you try to figure out like how to get to the end, like how to complete the task. And I feel like that's what abstract art is kind of doing, like, in a way. But this one also does look like a person. Like the gray person is like the face, and then the triangles is like the hair. And this also looks like an outfit too, like the pink, like something a person will wear, like as a like a poncho or like a shawl or something. But yeah, this looks like a bird or something, like a bird with a beak. Oh, okay, I really like this one right here. So you know, themes art from like back in the day, probably like the 70s, 80s, 90s. Like people would have different sculptures in their house, and this looks like something that would like wiggle or something like that when you shake it. But it also reminds me of waves and being like fixated and stuck in them, but also having the flex. So in a, I feel like if this was a cusp sign, it would be between fixed and mutable, like a fixed mutable cusp sign. That's kind of what this reminds me of. And like one that deals with maybe being fixed in communication and also mutable, like maybe when it comes to certain things. And then also the green, like being fixated or mutable when it comes to practicality, like the practicality of your communication is fixed or mutable or something like that. But yeah, I like this one because it reminds me of like school supplies, like pencils, but also like a runway, like if a model was walking down this and this was kind of like changing. But also like Steven Universe, the room that Steven be going into that his mom made for him. Like it reminds me of that, how they be traveling and going through that and like experiencing and seeing other gyms and stuff. This one also reminds me of a person. Like this is their hair, and this is their face. Like, but also just like a golf, the thing people use to play golf, and like a hairstyle from back in the day, basically. And purple and gold is also like Planet Fitness, basically. Planet Fitness vibe. Okay, this one I remember too. So this one, it also reminds me of like a game that you would play. Like, I wonder like if people that create video games, if they also are interested in abstract art, because abstract art can create a video game where you like look at this and then you see like the task might have something to do with the eggs, like moving the eggs or touching the eggs and they disappearing or something moving or the blocks moving. You got to keep the eggs in one place, or maybe the goal is like the eggs were in another place, and then the completion of the game was to be able to let the eggs be like you get what I'm saying, like the eggs were, let's say the eggs were all scattered, and then by the time it gets to the end of the game, the eggs were inside of these particular sections. Right here, this reminds me of like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Some of the adventures that they would go on would have to do with the forest and being able to build like tents and stuff like that. But yeah, this reminds me of a game too, like you just kind of jump from box to box, or maybe you're up here and these are all moving, but you gotta stay in a certain particular location and stuff like that. So this I feel like this book in particular has a lot to do with like games and movement and patterns and travel. I'm sure that every abstract art book is different, but I'm just noticing like the different patterns and the different like familiarity between each one. Okay, so remember I said for like the other one, I said this one. So, okay, you see how this one, the eggs are right here, and I was saying like how this looks like the completion of what the game would be. So like, let's say the eggs were kind of in a different place like this, and then the eggs kind of had to move to be able to be here. So I think too, like, when you put different art or different paintings beside each other, they kind of create a different equation, right? So like, if you was to go through a certain circumstance, right, and you was able to extract the wisdom and the knowledge from that experience to be able to know what to do or what not to do the next time, right? I feel like a painting can portray that, right? So like, this could be one experience and you learned what you were supposed to learn, and then this was a different experience, you learned what you learned, and when you put these together, you came up with this wisdom. You get what I'm saying? So I think that also could be part of the reason of why certain images and certain pictures are on the same page. Like the colors of this kind of go together, you know? Like, this is reminding me of like the ocean and like an octopus and like the water creatures and stuff like that. I love the green and the yellow together like this. This is kind of like some of the art that I would actually like want to have in my house or something. Like, if I went to an art show, I might want to buy these. Like, these are the ones that I kind of see, because they're all different, but they're all together. So if I was to like go to a art museum and see these, I would want to keep them together just because of how this page is put together and the kind of image it portrays. And I wonder too if this means why this page was put together, why these arts was put together, or if it's not. I think this would be a good area. Like, also, I'm learning from this book how I would want to organize my own abstract art just based off of how this person organizes, and it kind of it just sparks different thoughts in your mind of like what state of being a person was in to come to these conclusions, and what state of being I be in to come up with the conclusions I already come up with, and then how I can grow to have a book, an art book like this, or not like this, but an art book of this size or bigger or whatever size I want, where I have pictures on this side and this is whatever it is, or wherever I want the picture to be in the description as well. Like, I just feel like it adds the organization to it, and you can learn from anything and you can learn from anybody, because, you know, everything around you is like a teacher. So this is an enlarged image of the previous page of this, and it looks different. Like, so I like this all together at this size, but I also like how big this is, and it's starting to look like something else, like one of the crystals on Steven Universe, or like some type of like battle, or some type of communication with something. Is something that I would want to sit and look at and think and come up with different conclusions and like tell a story about what I see, instead of just coming up with something off the top of my head, because that's what I've been doing so far, is coming up with stuff on the top of my head about what it reminds me of, right? But the purple and the blues together, I feel like it's like, we know that blue represents communication, emotions, and connection in the ocean, and we know where water is at, and we know that when you think enough, you can create an emotion inside of you, right? So like, I feel like this is a lot similar, because wherever blue is at, it kind of represents that connection. So there's more purple on this page than there is blue, but it's also two different blues, you know. So I feel like it could represent mutable communication, and just just mutable. I would say just mutable, like, and for reasons like this, I would kind of want to see or know like the explanations the writer came up with to put this image together, you know, or what they kind of think about, or if every time they look at it, do they think about something different, kind of like how an artist would, or just anybody in general. You don't even have to be an artist, but yeah, it also just looks like an octopus too. But like, it just kind of reminds me of like something that would transform, like it's in one state right now, and then it could move and be in a different state, and like, and the reason why I said it reminds me of like Steven Universe is like, in Steven Universe, when the two crystals merge, this reminds me of the in-between process of the two crystals merging. Like maybe one crystal was all blue and then the other crystal was these colors. So when it created this image, it's just kind of showing the process of in between, like before it's complete, even though it is complete in a sense. So yeah, it also has triangles, and you know, triangles represent idea, problem, and solution, and it's also like a square as well. So when you have an idea, problem, and solution, and you're content about the outcome of that idea, it creates a perfect square. Even though this is a rectangle, but still. Yeah. Okay, this is probably my favorite one so far. And we are, how many pages in? We're on the 26th one. But yeah, so overall, this is what it looks like from like a distance. But what I like the most is just the in-between, like this part. I like that this is the shape that they chose. This is an octagon. 2, 3, 4. I mean, yeah, this is an octagon. And 8 represents behind the scenes and privacy. And 8 is also like a routine and pattern, because when you draw an 8, it's like you can keep going and you can keep going. It's like the 8 going into something and being able to wrap around and go up and out. It's kind of like as below, so above, you know, as within, so without. I feel like that's kind of what 8 represents, and whatever you put in a routine and pattern of, how it accumulates a certain outcome. So like, I'm just thinking about this 8, like, I feel like this was to tell a story or something. Like this seems like the front or the beginning of like a comic book or something. Like I would want to go inside of this world and see what's going, like what's behind this, and where does this lead to, you know. But it's also beside these other images. But I feel like this image went through this life first, then it went through this life, then it went through this life, then it went through this life, and it became this. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just really like how this is put together. And this would be something I'll probably come back to and give a more in-depth, like, thought process of this. This is Lamina 26. And yeah, I just want to have that mental note, because this is kind of just something like you look at for a long time and just kind of see like where it takes you or what you can create from it. But yeah, this part reminds me of like buildings though. Like if you was to jump from building to building to building and then make it to the other side. But this part reminds me of like Florida or a tropical Caribbean island or place. And this reminds me of like a museum, like a place where people come to practice certain patterns and routines or something like that. This reminds me of like a fan. And just like making light of situations. But it does have a lot of purple back. Like right here, there's a lot of purple. And right here is a lot of purple. And right here is a lot of purple. I think they used a lot of purple just in general in this book. But, okay, so this is how I was kind of looking at it when I seen it the first time. But when you look at it from different angles, you kind of get like a different perspective. But that's one reason why I love abstract art, and I just love like being able to look at this kind of art and you see where it takes you or where it travels. Like I feel like all abstract art is about traveling, because you're able to look and see like what mind state or what state of being a person was in to come up with this, and then create your own outcome. this is like a maze, like if you go up these steps. And this is like a portal. So like going up these steps, and like a flashlight or a light in general, it's like you get an idea about something. Like when you see light, or what light represents, is like when you get an idea. Like when you watch a cartoon and a light bulb pops up over the character's head when they get like a certain idea. It's like that represents light in a sense of, because this looks like a flashlight, or this looks like a projector, or this looks like, that's kind of how I can think about it. But yeah, I really like this book, and I just wanted to do like a flip through and like a explanation. Ooh. This one is really cool. It's like these are all very similar to what I've seen in the previous pages, and the colors of this one are also similar to the previous pages, but the way this is designed is different, because this is a circle, circumference, and it's like squaring at your circle, logically understanding your circumference, like in a way, but like in a picture form. And like the words don't even get close, but it's like how you're able to describe something through an image or through art more than you can with words, or in a different way, where you might not have the words to say, but you can create a picture and painting. But yeah, I really like this. This is like a rug or a carpet to me. Like I would want this as a carpet. And it looks like it can be like in a playground, and you can like move it like this. Like the different activities they have at playgrounds. This kind of looks like a graph. Ooh. Yeah, this is fire. Let's read this. La Mina 31, disco parecido a lo de colores orfícicos de Robert de la Unai. I don't know. I'm trying. But yeah. It says a lot of purple and blue and green, and like a light yellow as well. But yeah, I really like the way they put these colors together in the way they. So this is probably my favorite one as well. This is more of my favorite than the previous one, which I think was on 26. This reminds me of the art that be from like back in the day. Not back in the day, but like those buildings with posters where it's all the same poster beside each other. I feel like this reminds me of something that would be like that. And how this kind of looks like a word, but it doesn't. Like this, I fuck with abstract art. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, even though it's really long already. But yeah, I just want to kind of make this part of like my routine and pattern of like studying different art and looking at different art. I feel like it's just like reading a book. This is just like reading a book. Like whatever benefits you feel like come from reading a book, it's the same when you're just looking at pictures and art. This reminds me of like a VHS going inside of like, or a PlayStation 2 or something, like something like that. But yeah. these are just really, really nice. And like nice is not even a word to really describe it. It's just like I would love to see a museum where all of these are enlarged in different sizes and different textures and different sculptures, stuff like that. This looks like a person wearing a do-rag to me. Like this their face and this the do-rag. And also like a slide. If you was going down the slide of the playground, like you was up here and then drop down. But yeah, I think this is the last page. And I wonder like what, as far as like the order, like the circle picture I seen from 31, I would probably put right here. And then start the next book with that on it, like as a continuation. But yeah, I really like this book though. Arte, Abstracto, Dibujos y Diseños. Yeah, this is a great book.